The story begins at Lion Mountain. The revival of spiritual energy triggered a tide of ferocious beasts that revolted and shouted to stop, saying they couldn't escape. A girl keeps running as they demand she hand over the flowers, but she keeps running with her clothes all torn. Soldiers shout for her to stop, saying it's impossible to escape the beast tide revolt. The girl looks back and sees the beasts still chasing. The red-haired soldier says she can really run. He starts shooting. His partner beside him asks who gave the order to fire since there's a beast tide down below. Just as he's about to say something else, he looks frightened, realizing something. It's a ferocious beast, a mutant boar. The soldier says it's a feral beast and that what he just hit was its prey. The boar charges at them and the soldier asks if they can get past a boar, saying, "All fear comes from lack of firepower. A big guy should have a big weapon." He shoots at the boar but misses and complains that it's another wasted shot. Suddenly, a huge amount of mana is released, and through the smoke, a creature opens its enormous mouth and reveals its giant paws. It's the mountain lion king, the golden lion. The soldiers look on in shock, saying it's a beautiful male lion and asking if it's really golden. The redhead asks why they don't give it a try. He starts shooting. The lion moves, leaping at them, and strikes with its paw. The other soldier aims, but the lion places its paw on the weapon's barrel, turning the attack back on him and causing an explosion. The lion observes the defeated soldiers and says it's his own fault for being too strong and unable to control his power, and that these people are the ones responsible for leading the beast tide there and causing chaos in Lion Mountain. His name is Liu Fan. He was an orphan, had a hard time finishing college, became a proud migrant worker, but accidentally traveled to Star Earth, where spiritual aura was revived and he was reborn as a demonic beast, the Golden Lion. The system notifies that he gained more points for using his roar, eliminating invaders, and combing his mane. He wonders what's with this system and says he's getting stronger no matter what he does. The lion looks at the boar, which quickly runs away. A parrot approaches and says, "The king is powerful. One move and those monkeys will be wiped out." Liu says to stop exaggerating, he didn't even do anything, and asks where the girl those people were chasing went. The green snake replies that unfortunately, she was affected by the explosion and fell into the fierce beast tide. Fan looks around and more notifications appear congratulating him for submerging the beasts in the riot beast tide. Among the smoke, the animals see the girl lying on the ground. The protagonist walks toward her, thinking she has an unusual aura, and although clearly down, her body is full of energy. He releases purple mana over her, and her soul begins to float out of her body, hovering in the air. She looks toward him. Liu finds it interesting. In the ruins cave of Lion Mountain, Fan tells her not to cry anymore since the dead have no tears, and if she doesn't want to be a ghost, she needs to reincarnate. The system notifies a host alert, ghost obtained, and says to connect quickly. The lion thinks that scared him. He didn't do anything, and wonders why this system suddenly appeared, asking if it really wants him to connect with the ghost. He notes this is the first time the system gives such a direct message. Before, it was always just 1+1 notifications, and wonders if a main quest was just added, thinking his peaceful days may be over. He wonders what this inexplicable emotion is, and says he must plan carefully later, but for now, they'll complete the mission, and the system won't cause him losses. A mana voice speaks, saying he went overboard and asks if he doesn't see she's sad. The mana transforms into a girl, identified as Green Vela, and tells her not to be afraid. The king has no bad intentions, he's just a bit straight. She says the king left his demonic energy in her soul so it could be condensed, and that she also had to rely on the king's demonic energy to become a demon. But just relying on his energy isn't enough to make her a demon. There are two conditions. First, a special constitution, and second, the obsession in her heart. She asks what happened to her and why she was being hunted by humans, adding that they're less terrifying compared to that group of humans. The girl looks hesitant, hands trembling, and says her name is Su Ling and she lives in Mong Village at the foot of Lion Mountain. And ever since spiritual energy reappeared, many people in the village have gone missing. Now only 23 remain. And a few days ago, a group of people suddenly came to the village saying that everyone there wanted to be finished off, told them to shut up, called them trash, and ordered them to hurry up and enter. An old man said he didn't want to go in, that his son had disappeared in the forest ahead and begged to be spared. The soldier hit him in the face and said he didn't care. If he didn't go in, he'd be finished off, and his grandson had to go too. The child was terrified, calling out to his grandfather. The old man said he would go, so he stepped in and began to tremble, saying it hurt. His veins bulged on his face, his eyes turned blood red, and he saw something strange cracking. The soldiers asked if they saw that and said he suddenly vanished again. The woman asked what happened. The man said he had just been there. The soldier said not to waste time, now it was the child's turn. His mother called for her son. The child entered and the same thing happened. They kept calling for the next, always the next. It turned out that this group was using them to scout the path, and each villager who entered vanished after a while. Whenever one disappeared, they pushed in the next. And so the villagers disappeared one by one. The soldiers talked among themselves that it was very close now and should be the last part of the path. And now it was the girl's turn, Ling. The black mist of the forest seemed to have hallucinatory effects, and once she entered the black mist, she subconsciously started running towards something. Then she saw her parents, called for them, and when she woke up, they were gone. She fell into a pit, and in front of her was a flower. She guessed the group's goal, and it was that which guided her. The flower and the coffin. That group had eliminated the villagers and forced her parents into the mist where they disappeared. Sue won't let them do whatever they want and can't destroy the coffin, so she ate the flower. After eating it, her body felt very light and she could see clearly at night. Soon those people found that place and quickly tried to take the coffin. They were looking for the flower. One man said he wanted the coffin and the flower and told them not to even think about making money. A soldier responded that they searched the area and it might be with the girl who lit the way. The man said they had to find the flower, and once they found the girl, they should eliminate her. That group couldn't find the flower, so they started chasing her. In the present, Ling says that's how she reached Lion Mountain. Green Vila says they're a bunch of bastards, truly wicked people. The protagonist thinks that girl ate the spirit coffin flower, so she gained a special constitution and doesn't even need to guess her obsession. Revenge. And it must be a treasure that drove those mercenaries mad. Not everyone in this world is kind, and it all happened at the foot of Lion Mountain. He really won't feel at ease until he finds out exactly what happened. When the spiritual energy first appeared, all forces took action, and he wonders what change the second wave will bring. He also needs to keep an eye from the outside. Since the systems asked him to link with her, he doesn't care about the past, but becoming her ghost is different. Her substance becomes his substance. He asks if she's willing to become his ghost. Sue looks at him. Her eyes fill with tears and she says she is. More notifications appear. Ghost successfully linked, mission triggered. Ghost chain for the lion with a reward of body fragment. Yang body fragment can be exchanged for a yang body. Liu notices the yang body and wonders if he can become human again. Since he was reborn as the golden lion, he received a system that keeps making him stronger no matter what, until he became the demon king of the mountain. The system gave a mission and a mission reward. Fan thinks it's a mysterious opportunity, and the reward is even more mysterious. He decides to check the yang body fragment first. If this yang body allows him to regain his human form, then this reward will be even better, and he asks what her obsession is. Is it revenge? Ling answers no. She wouldn't dare bring trouble to the king. Now she's his ghost, and now she has a home. It's just that she doesn't know whether her loved ones and relatives have been eliminated or not. And even if they were, she doesn't want their bodies to be left exposed. The lion thinks she's so young and already so mature. He releases mana, summoning a smaller lion, and says this is his clone and it will go with her to protect her. The clone says that with the appearance of the second wave of spiritual energy, not only is the beast horde about to act again, but Lion Mountain will also undergo changes, and his main body needs to stay there and protect it. The protagonist blows, releasing an energy containing a weapon inside and hands it to her. Strong winds begin to blow at the sight. Sue thinks this is no weapon of a normal beast. It feels extremely sharp and powerful, and it carries the king's energy. Liu says that black mist will appear. The road will be hard to walk, so it's good to have a sharp weapon. Ling's eyes fill with tears and she thanks him. Green Vila changes her size and color and says since the road has black mist and is hard to walk, perhaps she'll need some light. Sue thanks her. At the mountain stream near Mong village of Lyon, Ling says that's where the villagers disappeared. Green Vila asks if she didn't say there would be black mist. Sue replies that after they moved the coffin, the black mist vanished. The lion clone thinks the yin energy there is very dense. They keep walking and Ling notices something. A skeleton. She says it's her grandfather's shirt, and as expected, they were eliminated by the black mist. Green Vila asks if they died yesterday and today already turned into bones, saying that's really scary. The clone closes his eyes and thinks that if karma bears fruit, those who did good should enjoy peace, and those with extremely evil karma should suffer eternal torment. And if there's no karma, then there's no way to cultivate or reach nirvana. He says he purified the unjust soul and allowed it to re-enter the cycle of reincarnation, wondering if so many affected souls remain there, absorbing the spiritual energy of his Lion Mountain. Won't that become a problem? Green Vila says nearby corpses are buried there and hopes they can rest in peace. Sue says her parents still haven't been found. Green Vila says they should go deeper and search. They keep walking and searching. The lion smells something and warns them to be careful because there are people ahead. And even if they're trash, they're fully armed with live ammunition. Ling says that's where the coffin used to be and hopes those people aren't still there. The soldiers are up in a tree, saying they were fooled by brats, and if they catch her, they'll toy with her first, then torture, then finish her off. His partner says he has a twisted taste. The soldier tells him to just eat the food, and food doesn't taste heavy even when eaten in front of 2 corpses. The redhead asks what they know. One of them puts his foot on a skull and says, "These are the brat's parents, and if she wants to find them, she'll have to come back here." But now the corpses have been destroyed too. They start laughing. Sue watches, grips her weapon, and the lion says to wait. Someone else is coming. A helicopter approaches. Someone descends to the ground. The soldiers realize it's Lord Mei Yun. The leader says she heard that idiot Luo was the only one who managed to retrieve the coffin. The redhead replies the flower is still being searched for and is likely with the village girl. Mei says who cares about the flower? It's just a bonus. The one conceived inside the coffin is the real treasure, and that's what she's after. Only with 49 ghosts who died in vain, sealed in coffins, can the ink be slowly precipitated. 3 lives soul. The clone watches closely, thinking so that's it. Meanwhile, the protagonist in his cave receives system notifications. Ink detected, 3 lives, soul and soil, attribute expansion triggered, and he receives points for intelligence. He thinks this is the first time he's added that attribute, and now he can clearly see his veins. He looks at the snake in front of him. She calls him, but notices he's ignoring her. Liu thinks that no matter what he does, the system also gets stronger, but it's never awakened any special ability. He can even see spiritual energy forming, and wonders what this really is. At the sarcophagus ruins on the northern mountain of Mang village, the redhead says, "This 3-soul soil is so precious, this is a huge gain." The leader says what she wants is not a big gain. The redhead says they'll help keep her secret. Mei says no. She only trusts that eliminated people can keep secrets and will let them be eliminated painlessly. The soldiers insult her and say they'll take her down. The bracelet on Yun's arm releases mana and paralyzes them. She looks at them, approaches with her sword, and slashes them, saying Luo used his life-saving treasure, massive labor and resources, but never expected to reap the greatest benefit. She says they should blame themselves for having poor vision, and that while the coffin may be valuable, this 3-soul soil is even more magical. She pours vital fluid onto the ground. A mana begins to rise. The captain smiles and says Luo is an idiot, and if it weren't for his idea of using the villagers first to lead the way and assist him, he probably would have found the coffin only after all his men died. Ling approaches her and thinks so it's her. Mei quickly turns around. Green Vila asks if she can see Sue. Ling thinks she subconsciously dodged it, and now, being a ghost, she's not afraid of Mei's attacks. Yun senses no one, but her bracelet won't fail. She puts on her glasses and says, "So it's a little ghost. Didn't expect to see you here." Sue calls her a demon and says she'll avenge her parents. The captain asks if she won't let her go even after becoming a ghost and who she even is. When did she eliminate her parents? Ling asks if she doesn't remember. Mei replies, "How would I remember which ants I crushed before?" Sue gets furious and insults her, stepping forward. The clone thinks, as expected, she can see the girl and wonders why he has a bad feeling. What's strange is that Mei doesn't seem shocked upon seeing the ghost and isn't scared at all. He wonders if this isn't her first time fighting a ghost. And if she's used to dealing with ghosts, then this is bad. He releases his mana over there. Yun attacks the ghost and hits her. Ling is shocked and says, "No way, I don't even have a physical body." The captain says she reacted very quickly to her sword. Sue thinks that in that case, she can only dodge an attack from a blind spot, but the sword's reach is long. Can I really do it? She sees the blind spot, and then Mei chokes her, saying no matter what tricks she uses, they're useless. Green Vila says she just became a ghost and she's no match for someone awakened. May the king help her. The clone says that maybe because of her personality, she believes that avenging with her own hands is the only way. Yun's bracelet alerts her of something. She looks to the side but sees no one. Ling is behind her, swiftly placing a dagger at her neck. The captain can't comprehend what's happening until she's defeated. The lion approaches, saying the ghost didn't do badly in her first fight, barely qualified to be his ghost. Green Vila asks what's going on. The clone explains that her bracelet must be a device that senses killing intent, so every time an enemy attacks, it points in that direction. That's why she dodged Ling's attack from the start, but still used glasses to confirm her presence. However, instead of trusting the glasses, she trusted the bracelet, and may have been affected by an illusion spell before, so she no longer trusted what she saw. Vela says then he purposely released killing intent to disrupt her senses. The lion says, as expected from the Meow village, don't be so reckless next time, until someone says, so she had helpers. Sue asks why. Her opponent seems to have revived, and she thinks that sword is mainly used to deal with ghosts, King and Jiao, so both in soul state, can't let that bastard near them. Ling swings her dagger and cuts her opponent's arm. Green Vela says she's amazing, and Sue says she's slain cows before. The arm hits the ground, and from the wound, threads start to come out. Ling looks surprised. The lion thinks she really died, but did the body die and the clone is still alive? And now it's using its new power. Is this the 3 lives soul soil aura? He remembers she poured vital fluid on the ground before that. The captain moves her severed arm holding the sword. Sue realizes her attack range has increased, but that means she'll be slower when pulling the sword back. If so, it's a chance to strike. She hits her again, and from the wound, threads begin to flow. Ling is frightened. Mei glares menacingly and moves closer to attack. The protagonist thinks his clone is also a primordial spirit. If it gets hurt, that's bad. Not worth the risk. Threads wrap around Sue's foot, hand, and body. Her eyes fill with tears, until a mana presence appears and someone asks, "How dare you intimidate my people? Who do you think you are?" Yoon is confused. Liu returns to normal size, lifts his ghost in his arms, and thinks about using the fragment. The system notifies that the fragment was used and congratulates him on obtaining the Yang body. Fan sighs and says he told her not to be reckless. Ling's eyes widen, calling out to the king. The opponent starts to scream. The lion says, "Hold your breath, cover your ears, and empty yourself." He opens his mouth, using his ion roar, unleashing a massive burst of mana and attacking her, defeating her. The smoke dissipates. The protagonist picks up the sword from the ground and says it's not a bad weapon, but unfortunately, it never drops fragments. Notifications arrive and he wonders if this weapon allows him to expand attributes and thinks this roar hurts his throat. He questions why his neck still has fur. Liu looks in the mirror and thinks this system is trash, wondering if the human form also has levels, even if this form is pretty good looking. He pulls down his pants and says the part he really wants to return to normal is down there. Green Vela tells him he didn't need to use so much power. He turned her into ashes and the 3 lives soul soil was also blown up. Fan says he doesn't care about that little detail. Green Vela says she likes his new form. It looks cool. More notifications arrive saying the host absorbed 3 lives soul and gained an intelligence bonus. The lion wonders if he can even see spiritual energy in the air now and thinks that, as expected from the system, he gets stronger just by breathing. The system notifies that the chain quest for the lion has progressed. Ling thanks him. The protagonist thinks it seems the revenge isn't complete yet and he doesn't fully understand it. He says he knows she's not satisfied with her revenge yet, but if they want to investigate further, they need to go down the mountain. Green Vela says the sun is rising. She has no young body and asks the king to save her. Sue desperately begs to be saved too and hides under his cloak. Liu tells her she can't do that, but she can possess a body. She could possess her opponent's body lying on the ground. Ling says she doesn't want to. Fan asks why and tells her to hurry. This is a crucial moment. She replies that the opponent is ugly. Later, while walking, the lion asks if she remembers what he just taught her, that when she meets mercenaries, she should act like Mei. Sue replies that she understood. The protagonist tells her to come with him to find the organization. Somewhere else, they approach a helicopter. The soldiers say the captain is back and ask if she retrieved the items and where they're headed next. Ling replies yes and says to return to where he came from. A soldier asks who's the guy under the cloak. She replies he doesn't need to know. They board. Inside the helicopter, the pilot says they've reached Lion City and will land in 10 minutes. On the ground below, defeated creatures and bones are scattered. The soldiers in the helicopter say those idiots down there are basically asking for death, scavenging resources from fierce beast corpses. Fierce beast bones can still be sold for some cash on the black market, and if they're lucky, they might find a monster core. Sue, in the captain's body, stares at them. The soldiers awkwardly say they have no such greedy thoughts, and that following a leader like her is the right path. Liu thinks that unlike the increasingly prosperous Lion Mountain, after the appearance of spiritual energy, human cities were hit hard. More notifications come in for mercy and wisdom bonuses. He thinks this is almost like the apocalypse. The pilot lands and says they've arrived. Ling says good work. She immediately attacks the soldiers and quickly eliminates them. They get off and head toward the stronghold of the organization. Green Vela says this must be the enemy base, but it doesn't look that strong. One breath from the king could wipe it out. Fan says there's no rush. Let's play with them first. After entering the place and defeating the people there, the lion notices something and picks up a shirt but says it's too small. Green Vela says based on her previous research, this place might hold the clues they need. The protagonist smiles and releases energy through his eyes, noticing they weren't the only ones who came here, and finds it interesting. A girl stays alert, weapon in hand. Liu tells her to let him handle it. The girl sees them approaching and starts shooting. She hits him. Sue insults her. Fan says he's fine and realizes she's made of spiritual energy, wondering about that kind of tech. The girl wonders how the spiritual energy didn't pierce him and thinks he must be awakened. She keeps shooting, but the lion remains unharmed. He moves his fingers, breaking the gun in her hand, then grabs her hand and tells her not to push him. He's not confident in controlling his power. The girl calls him a beast in her thoughts and wonders if this organization uses fuse tech, then says he can do whatever he wants. The protagonist says she's not from the Stronghold organization and asks what she's doing there. The girl says she's not going to tell him she came because the organization destroyed their company's development project and that she came to collect data. Lu observes her and notices something inside her shirt and grabs it. The girl becomes embarrassed and he realizes it's a map. He thinks it marks Lion Mountain and that these people dared set their sights on his territory. A helicopter approaches, calling for Luo and announcing that the leaders from headquarters have arrived. Fan wonders if it happened this quickly. Ling looks irritated and a voice says, "This is the headquarters of the Coffin Hunt," questioning why make it so mysterious, asking if they want to examine products at night and if they still need to use candlelight. Lion responds that she really knows nothing. The coffin will only crack or break when exposed to strong light, and candlelight is already the limit. The hidden lion realizes that's where they've hidden the coffin. Sue asks what they should do, since they're about to move it. The protagonist says there's no rush, and they should just observe for now. Lion says if nothing goes wrong, she'll call people to carry the coffin. Hu replies there's no need, they'll handle the rest. She calls for Gang. The big guy easily lifts the coffin, and Lu, still hidden, notes how strong he is and realizes he's also an awakened. Mei questions why she said they didn't need help and what's going on. Sensing someone, she uses her whip, but Fan catches it and says he can feel her presence. He's an awakened too. Lion wants to know when a rat got in and says she'll eliminate him now. She attacks, but the lion dodges. Ridge says he reacts quickly and asks if he can keep up with his speed, continuing his attacks non-stop, but the protagonist evades them all. Lion wonders why he can't counter it all and demands to see his identity. Ridge removes his hood, surprised, and says no wonder he has such fast reflexes. He's a beast man awakened. Hu looks at him and thinks he's so handsome. Lion says that beast form gives him extraordinary defense and asks if he's ever been kicked by light. Ridge uses his speed acceleration skill and tries to strike with his leg. Lu, without moving, knocks him to the ground. Green Vela says the king is so strong he defeated him easily. Fan says he never does anything. He was the one who attacked. Mei can't believe it, thinking Lion is a rank B awakened. The big woman says he's so weak and that she'll show him how it's done. Then Gang throws the coffin at him. The lion says that coffin is a treasure. How could she throw it away like that? What if it hit a child? Or damaged flowers, grass, or plants? The big woman glares at him, flexes her muscles, approaches, and says no matter how much her muscles swell, they won't burst, and that she wore a special carbon fiber vest to pass the evaluation. Green Vela says it would have been better if she hadn't. She just looks even more perverted. Gang says she's tried everything already, so he should just be finished off obediently. Ling approaches from the side and says she's the one who should be eliminated. Sue attacks with a dagger, but her opponent traps it between her breasts, and Ling realizes her fang blade can't be pulled out. The big woman says muscle is power, her muscles are maxed out, and nothing in this world can harm her. She's invincible. Then throws Ling away. The protagonist walks up and says it looks like she has confidence in her muscles, but did she ever train her brain? Gang asks what that's supposed to mean. Lu flicks her with his fingers and knocks her to the ground, saying clearly not. Mei thinks all of them are just dumb brutes with big limbs, but she's different. Slowly, from a homeless girl who lost her family and lived on the streets, she climbed her way up to this position thanks to her intelligent mind and her special awakened skill. She asks if he's so scared that he wants to hit her. Go ahead. Hu stares at him, using her ability, thinking that whether he's human or beast, if he's a man, once he falls for her charm, he'll become obedient like a slave. Fan asks what she's doing. Mei is surprised and wonders if it didn't work. She can't believe it. Flames reflect in her eye as she realizes this guy isn't using yang energy. He has a pure yang body. No wonder normal charm doesn't work on him. So now she'll attract his desire. Hu tries to seduce him and calls out to him. The lion's eyes widen, and he unleashes his roar, releasing a massive amount of mana and revealing terrifying eyes. Ling asks what's happening to him. She screams in fear. The protagonist looks to the side. Mei realizes it's aimed at her and thinks this pure, lustful fire can't even be controlled. She wonders if it can't be withdrawn even if she wants to, and thinks it's nonsense. She looks very frightened. Sue asks what's wrong with the king, and Green Vela replies that it's lust fire and the king has been affected by it. Sue asks what that means. Green Vela explains that all things have heart fire, desire, and karmic fire, and two types of heart fire are extremely dangerous and must be balanced by the practitioner's innate qi. That woman disturbed the king's emotional state and also awakened his desire, so now he's acting purely on instinct. If nothing is done, he'll be burned to ashes by his own desire. Ling asks what to do. Vela responds that unless they can extinguish the king's lust fire, nothing will stop it. Mei, with flames surrounding her body, says it's really hot and that she's about to be burned to death. Su says she deserves it. She caused this and should deal with it, and even that wouldn't be enough. Green Vela, now demonized by the king's absorbed energy, knows the king has a pure yang body, and since he never released it before, no one can endure his lust. Liu's flames become much more intense, striking Hu in front of him. Ling asks what to do, and if they'll just sit and watch the king burn away. Green Vela says she's wondering if she can withstand it. After all, she's Candle Flame, Ghost Flame from the underworld, Divine Fire, True Samadhi Fire. Every flame in the world is compatible with her, and she'll handle it. She activates her ability and approaches the king and his fire, changing its color when she touches it. She says she just needs a little more and for the king to give her the lust fire. Fan's eyes widen. Later, Mei wonders if she's still alive. The lion is on the ground. She thinks he's truly dangerous, and that she almost lost her life being burned by him. Su approaches with her dagger, telling her not to move or she'll have her throat slit. The protagonist sits down and asks what happened, and why he feels something soft under him. Notifications appear saying he's entered Sage mode and gained bonuses in mental power and focus. He wonders if that was the sacred fire technique and says it feels amazing. When Liu looks to the side, his nose spurts plasma. Ling asks what that woman is doing. Hu responds that this time there's no lightning. Ju asks if the king is okay. Still in the same place, Fan asks if she really devoured his lust fire and ended up like that. Green Vela replies yes, and that once she fully digested the king's lust fire, she could return to normal. Su says it's all that Fox's fault for turning the king into her energy source, and that she'll eliminate her. Mei asks if she really wants to eliminate her and says she'll let her try. Ling's eyes widen. Hu kneels down and begs the king to spare her life. If he does, she'll tell him everything he wants to know and do anything he says. The lion says she kneels fast and asks why they were after the soul coffin of 3 lives and what it's for. Mei replies that she's not entirely sure, but just knows it's a treasure used for reincarnation. He asks for more details, and Hu says it's said that ancient secrets recorded in the soul coffin state that if you lie in it, you'll receive an inheritance in the illusion and be reborn. The protagonist asks what the price is. She answers that if you get lost in the illusion, your soul will scatter and your body will turn to dust. Liu thinks that the 3 lives soul soil is the destruction of the deceased and maybe could help him obtain a young body, but the risk is too great. Ling leaves the captain's body and says to let her try. Fan says no, it's too dangerous and he won't allow it. Then more notifications appear, warning that the ghost mission is complete and the soul coffin reward was obtained, with a 30% success rate increase. The lion gets furious, insulting the system and calling it a bastard, saying the reward is awful and to give him something else. Just increasing the chance doesn't mean anything, there's still risk. Su says to let her go. Her life belongs to him, and if she can't do this, she's not worthy of being his ghost servant. The protagonist says it's fine. Ling lies down in the coffin. Liu uses the sacred fire technique, releasing blue mana and saying that once she enters the illusion, if her heart fire shows signs of fading, he'll pull her out of the coffin. Su responds that she understands and tells him to begin. She closes her eyes and the coffin appears in another empty place surrounded by aura with Ling inside. A great energy bursts out until she opens her eyes and finds herself in another place, saying, "So this is it," until she hears someone calling her, saying it's time to eat and to go serve a drink to her father. Tears stream down her face and Su realizes it's her parents calling her. She wipes her tears and says, "This is all an illusion," repeating it again. Ling walks, saying she'll just take a look, and when she enters, her parents are smiling, looking at her. An aura continues to be released. Su notices her father's and mother's smiles and also smiles as they eat together. Meanwhile, in real time, Ju asks the king how it's going. He replies that currently her vitality seems stable, and he hopes she can overcome this calamity. In Su's mind, her parents throw a party, thanking everyone and inviting them in. A woman arrives, telling her mother that her daughter married a fine son-in-law, and now she can rest easy. Her mother laughs and thanks her, inviting her in. Her father also greets the guests. Meanwhile, 2 people are seated with their faces covered. One of them is Ling beside her husband. In real time, the sky begins to brighten, and Green Vela warns the king that the sun is about to rise, and if she doesn't wake up soon, her spirit will disperse. The lion says she's fighting, and although her vitality still burns, it's extremely difficult for her to resist the stone coffin with her current mental state. They can't wait any longer. He places his fingers toward the mana connected to her in the coffin and says he'll bring her back, revealing a glowing red core of light with a bright white point in the center, a source of energy. In Su's mind, she's calling her husband and hears someone calling her. It's the lion. She recognizes the king as she opens her eyes. Ling sits up in the coffin but is still mentally inside. Ju says this isn't good, the sun is shining. Particles begin gathering near Sue's body, and she returns to the real world. The protagonist smiles and says it worked. Green Vela says she made it. Liu welcomes her back. Ling, tears running down her face, thanks the king. The system congratulates him for completing the connection task and becoming an ally to the lion. Skills awakened. Demonic sense and communion. The two hug the king, and more notifications arrive that they entered the illusory King of 3 Lives and obtained an inheritance. Convergence formula. Fan says the mission rewards are quite substantial, and he never expected that entering the illusion with 1 point of spiritual wisdom would result in such gains. The full inheritance received by the ghost must be even more impressive. Mei says this is touching and congratulates them on their family reunion. If there's nothing else, she'll be taking her leave. Ju tugs her ear and asks if she offended the king and still wants to leave. How should they deal with this witch? The protagonist thinks she awakened his desire and helped him learn the sacred fire technique. Maybe she can help him improve his skills. He grabs her arm and says he wants her to help with his cultivation until his sacred fire technique reaches perfection. Mei looks surprised. Later, they go outside and set the place on fire. Liu thinks that since they were targeting his mountain, the only option is to eliminate them all. Notifications arrive warning that the second revival of spiritual energy is about to begin. At Lion Mountain in the morning, more notifications confirm that the second revival has started. The plants open. The creatures there sense strange things. The snake calls for the king. Fan says the moment has finally come. The system notifies that the mission is to expand the territory, explaining that the Qi gathering attribute linked his demonic energy with Lion Mountain, and the entire area within it is now a power source. Before the end of the second revival, he must expand the territory of Lion Mountain as much as possible to withstand the incoming surge of energy. Fan wonders if this system is truly shameless, capable of cheating, strengthening, no limits at all. The system warns that if he can't expand the territory to the required level within the given time, his body will explode due to being unable to withstand the excess spiritual energy. The lion, irritated, says he knew this system could ruin anyone's mood. Thinking it over, he realizes he never confirmed the mountain's actual range, so he'll activate demonic sense to check and also test his new skill. With level 3 demonic sense, he can observe the flow of demonic energy throughout the mountain. It's like having God's vision, until he pauses and wonders, wait a minute, what about the golden fruit tree? Why is it toppled? Wasn't there a pangolin guarding that fruit tree? And where is the pangolin? The protagonist searches for the pangolin until he spots an animal on the ground and asks who he is and how he dares to touch his subordinate, wondering if he really dared to misbehave in his mountain and still wants to escape. He'll track the demonic energy it left behind, and he'll definitely find it. Meanwhile, the insect is digging underground. Liu says this is outrageous. It dares cause trouble in his territory, even knocking over his golden fruit tree, which is the primal spiritual root of Lion Mountain. The golden fruit blooms, bears fruit, and ripens once every 10 years. And consuming one grants 30 years of demonic power. He declares that he'll take it down and use it as fertilizer for the golden fruit tree. He gathers his animals, the parrot, the snake, the white fox, and the giant bear. Meanwhile, the pangolin lies collapsed on the verge of death. The bear says there's still hope for Chuan. Fan tells him to take good care of Chuan. A giant centipede approaches, letting out a loud screech. The protagonist asks how it dares to roar at him and says he'll show what the eastern lion's roar is all about. The serpent says such trivial matters don't require his personal intervention. She charges at the opponent, screeching as well, and coils her body around the centipede. The pangolin apologizes, saying he failed to guard the golden fruit tree. Liu asks what the story is behind this earth dragon and whether it's been lurking on Lion Mountain all this time. The pangolin explains that it was originally a worm tilling the soil under the golden fruit tree. During the spiritual energy revival, it mutated suddenly, but only its body mutated. It never gained spiritual intelligence and fell into a frenzy, becoming completely uncontrollable. Meanwhile, the snake bites the enemy, cutting it in half. The pangolin continues explaining that it fed all year on the decaying fruits and leaves of the golden fruit tree. Once mutated, the snake observes and realizes now there are 2 of them, saying this won't be easy. Fan asks if it split, really is a worm. The snake keeps fighting, biting one while the other bites back. She says this is problematic. The more they fight, the more of them appear. The bear says they should jump in too. The fox agrees. The snake says it's not necessary. She'll handle it alone. She's cultivated diligently beside the king day and night, and today is the day to test the results. Her body begins to change, appearance shifting, immense demonic aura surging. She transforms into a dragon serpent. Her body grows more terrifying and powerful. The centipedes look shocked. The snake releases her dragon breath, causing a massive explosion. The smoke clears, the serpent watches proudly, and her companions say she's amazing. The parrot says that's why she sleeps in the king's cave every day. Thought it was just a cold-blooded trait, but turns out she's really been cultivating using the king's demonic energy. The animals get annoyed and insult her. She tells them to shut up. The lion says they're still fighting for his favor. Notifications arrive stating he has gained the affection of his subordinates. The centipede gets up and starts retreating underground. The snake says its remains are escaping. She chases after it, shouting insults. The protagonist thinks that beneath them are the earth veins of his mountain. The system says his energy source is connected to the mountain and that if it's destroyed, the consequences will be unimaginable. He releases his mana and says he's going down too. He uses the sacred fire technique and descends with the other animals. The snake sees him and says the enemy has escaped underground. This creature can sense its surroundings through its skin, and its sense of smell is completely disrupted by the earth vein's spiritual energy. Liu thinks the first revival of spiritual energy happened on the surface, while this second one is within the earth veins. And he can feel it. This earth spiritual vein is connected to his spine. He tells them to go and find that disgusting insect even if they have to dig a meter deep. They keep moving, and Fan thinks the feeling here is just like the lion's den and wonders if this is an ancient relic. The snake says to look. The earth dragon has been eliminated. They don't quite understand until they notice something nearby. The protagonist asks if that's a red umbrella. Someone lifts the object. It's a woman, saying, "Just in time." The monkey and two other animals fall to the ground. The giant bear says those are his subordinates and asks if that's what she's doing. Luo licks her lips and asks, "You mean them?" and apologizes, saying she didn't mean to waste food but really can't eat anymore. The bear, furious, says he'll eliminate her. Chi asks why so fierce. She releases energy, attacks him, and prevents him from getting closer, saying he's underestimating his own capabilities. The white fox says they're joining the fight too. The parrot attacks using its skill, Illusory Radiance, and the fox with her Stealth Shadow, but Luo defends herself and counters by attacking the bear. The fox becomes worried about her partner. Chi starts laughing, saying a bunch of beasts with no intelligence are only good to be food. The protagonist observes and asks if, just because the lion didn't roar, she takes him for a sick cat. Luo says he's just a little kitten. Liu opens his massive mouth and lets out his roar. Chi places her umbrella in front of her to defend, and her eyes widen as she realizes it's causing a massive impact. Her umbrella falls to the ground, and Fan thinks only a broken umbrella remains and wonders if that demon will be completely destroyed. But no, he senses her demonic energy is still there. Luo thinks he's so powerful and wonders what the origin of this golden lion is, assuming he must be their leader. She worries she might not be able to match him in a direct clash, but so what if he's stronger? Can he really protect all his minions? She transforms into the umbrella and asks what he thinks of this. Chi uses her umbrella universe technique, devouring sky and earth, hitting the animals in the area. The fox thinks this is bad and wonders if the umbrella is an alternate space and says they must protect the king. The umbrella nears the king, about to strike, but the snake intercepts it, taking the hit. The bear gets worried and uses his wild strength technique, 1,000-pound smash. Fan becomes anxious about his subordinate and recalls when he said they had driven the hyena clan away and they no longer dared enter their territory. Then the bear asked why he always led the charge in battles, and the lion replied that the king must protect his followers. The bear said, "We're minions," and that they need to push even harder. In real time, the protagonist is in a battle stance, furious, and demands his family back. Around him, particles surge. Luo wonders if space is distorting and realizes she can't move. Liu, furious, approaches her, and Chi says it's useless. Her umbrella's surface is made of universal brocade which can infinitely repair itself. Fan bites her and she says the umbrella's back is made of an ancient divine tree, indestructible, and if he harms her, he'll never see his companions again. The lion stops immediately. Luo returns to her normal form and says her grand universal brocade umbrella can absorb all living beings under heaven, whether monster or god, and they'll all turn to pus and vital fluid in an instant. The protagonist says he wants her to release them. Chi says that if he wants them freed, he has to lick her feet and be a good dog for her. Liu glares furiously. Chi rubs her foot in his mane and asks if he's so good at fighting, what's the point? When out in the world, one must use their brain, learn to shapeshift. She mocks him for not even knowing how to transform into a human and says without hands, of course he can't open her precious umbrella. Fan grits his teeth. Luo tells him to hurry up and lick. She places her feet near his mouth. The lion remembers when they were cubs and the system congratulated him for taming a companion. Chi tells him to hurry up. If he waits any longer, his little companions will turn into blood. The protagonist asks, really? He grabs the umbrella and wonders why it feels like now is the right moment. Luo senses an aura. It's the lion's allies. The ghost and Green Vela approach, saying they've arrived. Liu notices Mei collapse nearby along with another girl and asks if opening this umbrella is all it takes to free his followers. Chi says to wait, but Fan opens it anyway. Luo starts to feel something strange. She says he's too rough. The lion keeps opening it, and Chi screams that it hurts and tells him to stop quickly. Once the umbrella is fully opened, Luo is left greatly weakened, and the animals are released. Notifications arrive that his experience with the Yang body fragment has expired. The protagonist says this was truly perfect timing. Ju checks the animals and says they all just lost consciousness. No serious injuries. Chi says she never expected this lion to be so terrifying, and in her hundreds of years as a demon, this is the first time someone opened her so easily. She couldn't resist. She runs away thinking retreat is the best option. She'll devour more monsters to increase her spiritual energy and wants that lion to kneel and beg. Liu says it's bad if that woman escapes. There will be endless trouble. He tells the ghost to chase her, and for Green Vala to take care of everyone else. They both respond that they understand. Luo keeps running, making a huge leap. Fan also runs and jumps, until he notices something and says he can't fly. He crashes to the ground. Chi laughs and says so he really can't fly. The lion uses his sacred fire technique, releasing intense flames. Luo gets frightened and disappears. The protagonist watches her. Ling lowers her head, deep in thought, and remembers the phrase, "Remember as much as you can and forget as much as you can," and thinks that voice sounds like the one she heard in the stone coffin. She obtained a Yang body by accepting the coffin's inheritance. But back then, there were so many figures she couldn't remember, until she recalls the life character formula. She gained the Yang body through the life character formula inside the stone coffin, and the life character formula is not irreversible. She activates the life character formula, life transformation. Liu looks at her, surrounded by mana, and Su says she remembers the chants from the stone coffin, and now can freely shift between Yang body and Yin soul, and asks to go after that demon. Fan says it seems that the coffin's inheritance isn't simple and requires continuous stimulation, recalling the chance to fully accept the legacy. In that case, it's time for her to gain more experience. And that umbrella demon has some abilities. This blood drop will protect her. Ling says she won't disappoint the king. She goes after the demon and tells her to stop, attacking with her dagger. Luo blocks with her umbrella, but Su manages to pierce it. Chi says today is really bizarre. One thing is the golden lion having a high level of cultivation, but even a little specter like her can tear the umbrella's surface. Ling says her blade was made from the fang of the beast the king defeated. How could a mere umbrella demon resist it? Luo becomes furious and says she'll make her regret every bit of insolence. She attacks and Su falls to the ground, dazed. In the infinite ancient city, she looks around asking where this place is and says she's been sucked into another dimension by her. She wonders if this rain mist has physical properties. She looks at her skin and asks if it's dissolving her spiritual energy. Ling starts running, saying this place isn't suitable for a long stay, until she stops, seeing several corpses on the ground and a creature ahead. She asks what it is, if it's a dissolved demon, and says she must escape fast. She keeps running until she ends up in the same place again. She asks what's going on. She came back to the same spot. As expected, it's not easy to escape. Su looks up and says dangerous places are often... She moves quickly upward, continuing, saying the safest places, until she runs into the same creature again, moving fast. Ling holds her head and says gravity has changed. The sky became the front became the ground. The demon appears, saying the entire space is under her control. Su tells her to move and screams at her to get out of the way, until she sees her own body emitting smoke. She says the Lion Mountain friends were only freed when the king opened the umbrella if no one comes to save her. She apologizes to the king for letting him down. Then she notices her dagger moving on its own, energy around it growing larger. Ling says she always wanted to help the king, but every time it was he who saved her. She even thought of giving up now and says she's really pathetic. She swings her sword and the wall cracks. Su asks if the wall responded and says she understood. These are the many projections of that umbrella demon, and maybe that woman isn't the true body? Her real form is the umbrella, and that's perfect. This time, even if she exhausts her cultivation, she thinks quickly to remember the inheritance that can break the enclosure, and says she must destroy the king's roots. She activates the Slayer character formula and enters Eliminator state, saying this is the Slayer character formula. Her eyes turn terrifying, and with sword in hand, she shatters everything around her. Luo feels a pain in her abdomen and says it hurts. That girl can really ignore the erosion of the rain mist and keep attacking. Ling stops and observes. She notices it's working, and the rain mist is flowing backward. To strike again, she uses the Slayer character formula and continues slashing everything around. Chi feels intense pain and says that girl is infuriating, and the Golden Lion must still be tracking her demonic energy. She can't stop here. She activates the Umbrella Universe, Blood Chi Condensation. Yin soldiers, they are summoned to the place. Ling watches and asks if these are the humans and demons she devoured and can now use. The monsters charge toward her. Su smiles and says they're unorthodox methods. She attacks them with her sword. Meanwhile, on Lion Mountain, the protagonist runs and asks if the ghost can hear his voice. He thinks she still hasn't responded, and it seems she's absorbing a new inheritance. It's deep, but her cultivation is still shallow. If not managed properly, this unpredictable inheritance could lead to disaster. Elsewhere, after Ling defeats all the summoned opponents, she says it's still not enough. She still needs to eliminate. Luo says her remaining demonic energy is too low to continue the fight, so she has no choice but to abandon her plan to absorb her. The Umbrella universe begins to collapse. Meanwhile, in another location, someone says that Lion Mountain is up ahead. Several people are walking with backpacks and say that the strong organization is competing with the authorities and getting close to their development project. They can't let them do whatever they want. The second spiritual energy revival has already begun, and if not now, when will they take advantage of the resources? The bald guy says the government already gave them the Lion Mountain project and wonders what will happen if the government finds out what they're doing. He says ever since the spiritual revival, demons and awakeners have run rampant, and which development group isn't hiring mercenaries for protection? The government has long been only symbolic. Then he spots something ahead and warns the group. It's Ling. The leader asks if someone got there before them and says it must be the strongest organization and that they'll take them down. He rushes toward her, ready to strike, but Su quickly cuts off his hand. The leader screams in pain, and the others charge at her. Ling moves swiftly, slicing them in half, saying the vital fluid smells so good. The protagonist runs fast, thinking that once she tastes human plasma, she'll never go back, and tells her to stop. As Su is about to lick the vital fluid off her hand, Liu lets out his roar, shaking everything around. Just as Ling is about to fall, he catches her with his tail, setting her down gently to avoid injury. He thinks he didn't want to expose her to danger, but with the second spiritual revival, more changes are coming. As his specter, she can only guarantee her safety by growing stronger. More and more people are coveting Lion Mountain. It seems it's time to act. On the mountain, Liu carries the ghost on his back until Su wakes up and calls out to the king, apologizing and mentioning the Umbrella Demon. Fan says it's fine. The Umbrella Demon has been handled. Ling says that's great and thinks she'll contribute to the king as well. Having a system really allows someone to do whatever they want, although the main body of the demon escaped. The lion remembers when he received a notification that there was a strange object found between the host's teeth and wondered why something was stuck in his tooth until he pulled it out. He asks if it's a fragment from that red umbrella. More notifications arrive saying he obtained a fragment of Brocade of the Universe. The protagonist asks if this fragment can be used to locate the Umbrella Demon, noting that she's exceptionally skilled at hiding her aura and form. It seems even demonic sense has no effect on her. He thinks he's got it. He activates the sacred fire technique, Spirit Life Manifestation, Heart of Fire. Liu says it's no wonder the Umbrella Demon can repair infinitely. This Brocade universe has incredible vitality, and even separated from the main body, it can still establish a connection. In the present, Fan keeps walking and thinks she probably never imagined this. The sacred fire is in his hands, and he now has complete control over her. He'll spare her. She may still be useful. In the cave, the animals are watching. The bear asks if this is the snack he brought. The parrot says, as expected from the king. After a fierce battle, he brings 2 women to replenish the body. The girl says whether to eliminate or let them go is up to him. Mei tells him to let them go. Then, someone throws an ID badge on the ground. The lion says he has some bad news for her. The construction group's exploration team that was with her was completely wiped out at the foot of the mountain. The perpetrator was the Umbrella Demon from the relic. The girl is shocked to hear that. The protagonist says that as a colleague, he understands it may be hard to accept for a while. When he arrived, everyone had been eliminated and the Umbrella Demon had escaped. He couldn't catch her. Mei asks if the girl is from the construction group. Liu says it wouldn't be accurate to say they were completely wiped out. Asks if there were survivors at the scene and whether she recognizes one. Then says the ghost is her colleague. Ling asks telepathically how she became that girl's colleague. He responds that now, with all factions eyeing Lion Mountain, he needs a pair of eyes in the human world. And now that she has a body, no one is more suited than her. He needs her to gather intel on the ancient relic between the strong organization and the construction group, and when the time is right, even provoke direct conflict between them. Su doesn't understand until the girl suddenly hugs her, and Mei asks if they're in collusion. Su thinks this is the Restless One's hypnosis technique, and that once he moved, she won't fail the mission. She says to head down the mountain. Mei asks if they can descend and wonders what she herself is supposed to do. The lion says she's staying on the mountain to help him cultivate the sacred fire technique, and orders his subordinates to tie her up and bring her back to the cave. Tonight, they'll practice dual cultivation. The bear carries her and replies that he understands. Mei says she doesn't want to be a power bank. Ling says they're heading down the mountain. The protagonist tells them to wait a minute and says everyone should share the golden fruits. He explains that the golden fruit tree fell and it would be a waste not to eat the fruits. Every companion of Lion will receive a share, not just golden fruits, but all spiritual flowers and exotic plants cultivated on Lion Mountain will be distributed. He commands all companions that during the second spiritual energy revival, they must do their best to improve cultivation and expand Lion Mountain's territory. The animals become very cheerful. Led by Lu, all of Lion Mountain mobilizes for a vigorous expansion campaign. The Lion Legion proves invincible in battle, quickly destroying nearby monster tribes and groups. Not only did the territory grow, but more followers were subdued. Fan's strength doubled as a result. The system notifies North Peak of Lion Mountain expanded by 15 kilometers. Spiritual energy transmission capacity increased. East Peak expanded by 20 kilometers. West Peak by 12.5 kilometers. Attribute extension, mountain resistance, awakened skill rock, crushing palm, awakened skill earthquake. The protagonist thinks just a little more and all his meridians will be fully opened. On the other side, with Shuang's help and Ling's, under disguise as a spy from the construction group, they infiltrated the core of the organization. Southern Lion Mountain across the river, 60 kilometers. White Tiger Ridge. The turtle says Lion Mountain has been restless lately, constantly expanding its territory, and is now close to Kuwait's border. The stork says it's extremely arrogant and declares it will take Lion Mountain. Once given the command, they'll push it back. A voice says that with the second spiritual energy revival, everyone wants to seize the opportunity. It's the tiger, saying that giving without receiving is impolite, and he'll give them a gift as well. Elsewhere, animals are observing and rats pass by the cave. Liu is distracted, reading system notifications. The mission? Expand territory. Progress ongoing. Reward. Yang body fragments. New skill. Strengthens spiritual energy collection in an 8 kilometers radius, mobilizing all demonic energy of Lion Mountain. Fan thinks that by then he'll be able to fully unlock all chi resistance gathering abilities on the mountain, and there are still young body fragments to collect. Then he gets a warning. North Peak territory under invasion, territorial expansion progress declining. The lion asks if North Peak territory was breached. Somewhere else, the bear says the expansion is proceeding steadily and asks how, after they just subdued the giant lizard tribe, could there be an invasion? He tells the king not to worry, everything is normal on his side. The protagonist says that's strange. Using his demonic sense, he sees nothing abnormal at North Peak and wonders what's going on. Could the system be malfunctioning? He says that damned system has deceived him more than once. He wonders if there's something he missed. Another anomaly, and goes to investigate. At Lion Mountain's North Peak, animals notice him arriving. Then the system notifies again. East Peak territory under invasion. Territorial expansion regressing. Liu wonders, is it East Peak this time? The system repeats the same message again. Fan wonders who it could be. Their mobility is extremely high. Even though he can't fly, he refuses to believe there's a creature faster than him on Lion Mountain. He starts doubting whether the system is functioning properly and thinks there must be a detail he missed. This is clearly misdirection. That thing must be right there. He suspects it might be something invisible since there's no suspicious demonic energy. Nothing in the sky or on the ground. It must be underground. He uses his demonic sense. There are several rats under the earth. The lion lifts his paw and slams it into the ground, cracking it open and launching rats into the air. The bear asks if those rats are what's been disturbing him. The snake says to look. It's not just a few, it's a whole mountain of them. The bear asks if Lion Mountain always had this many rats. The snake replies that mountain rats are a favorite delicacy of the green snake clan, and the original number wasn't enough to satisfy their hunger. The rats, irritated at being discovered, rush in to attack. The parrot says it's giving him the creeps. The bear asks if Lion Mountain is really going to be frightened by rats. He unleashes his wild power and the parrot uses his feather arrow technique. The snake swallows several, saying there's too much to eat. She can't take any more. Eating even half will make her explode. The rats begin merging, forming arms and legs, turning into the Rat King, an extremely giant rat. The group looks tiny in comparison. The Rat King starts destroying everything, throwing them around and biting. The bear says he's not allowed to damage the mountain, but the rat throws him far. The lion opens his massive mouth and unleashes his roar and photon beam, landing a direct hit. The parrot says as expected, only the king can handle it. The tiger watches from a distance and says he has formidable destructive power. And still, there are so many rats. They're burrowing underground. The protagonist says that although these mountain rats are weak individually, their numbers are immense. And if they come into contact with the spiritual veins of Lion Mountain, it'll be catastrophic. Meanwhile, the tiger says the rats have spread all through the underground of Lion Mountain. And if he's so powerful, why doesn't he just lift the whole mountain? Back on the mountain, the entire ground is torn up and rats are being eliminated. Liu says they've dug so deep he can't reach them. The rats continue digging even deeper. The animals observe. The anteater says to call on the golden underground forces of Lion Mountain for support. The snake quickly slithers in. Fan says it's useless. With this many mountain rats, even if you reach them, it's like a drop in the ocean. The snake, underground, says her clan understands mountain rats better than anyone. Although they're social animals, they don't consciously unite toward a goal. When hunted, they scatter and run, focused only on reproduction. For these rats to cooperate this well, there's only one possibility. They're being led by a rat king. The bear asks if that wasn't the rat king they fought earlier. The snake says that was just a phenomenon, the rats combining. The true rat king is their actual leader. In any case, if they eliminate the rat king, the rat tide problem ends. Then she encounters a giant creature. This must be it. She opens her massive jaws and attacks with her toxic bite, green bamboo leaf. She strikes her opponent. The rat is defeated. The snake says she bit so hard it got stuck in her teeth. The anteater says that's not the rat king because the other rats didn't show any sign of stopping. The snake asks if it really isn't the rat king. The anteater replies that even if it's the biggest in this tunnel, that doesn't mean it's the biggest of them all. And if the true rat king wants to hide, it definitely won't make itself obvious. Some rats surround a source of mana, get scared, and turn golden. Meanwhile, outside, the system notifies that damaged meridians are leaking spiritual energy. Mission progress decreasing. The protagonist thinks no, at this rate, his meridians will be ruined by mountain rats. It's only a matter of time. He says to go and bring May. The bear responds that he understands. Hu grumbles, asking what he's trying to do now. Isn't tormenting her daily enough? The bear says the mountain has been invaded by rats, and the king wants her to find the rat king. May asks if he's calling her for a rat seduction mission. What kind of shameless request is that? Liu says if she can find the rat king, it'll save them a lot of trouble, and that he needs her to help awaken all his desires. Hu remembers the last time she did that and asks if he really still wants her to awaken his desires. Has he forgotten that last time he almost eliminated her by doing so? Fan replies that now he can control his desires and tells her to stop talking. It's urgent. May thinks that at least last time he was in human form, but now he's completely in lion form. It feels a little weird to seduce him like this. Still, she uses her fox charm art, ultimate seduction, maximum power. The lion immediately becomes furious, unleashing mana and saying it's working. Managing to control it, he says that ever since entering the instance dungeon for the territory expansion mission, his body became connected to Lion Mountain, and he sees the mountain's earth meridians as his own. This way, if he uses the sacred fire technique to let desires surge at full power through his meridians, the protagonist activates the sacred fire technique. Flames grow extremely intense. He thinks he can burn those rats trying to approach the mountain's earth meridians. Liu channels mana underground, burning the rats trying to reach his meridians. The rats are incinerated, and Fan smiles. The tiger on the other side says it's a bit early to relax now, that the real terror from the mountainside is only beginning. Meanwhile, underground, there are still countless rats gnawing away. The lion thinks something's wrong. They're still chewing at the mountain's meridians. The rats keep growing and reproducing, giving birth to more offspring. The protagonist, furious, says their reproductive ability is outrageous. He thinks the others are still deeper underground, and his large-scale technique can't reach that far below. Even if it could, it can't cover the entire mountain. As long as one survives, the mountain rats can continue to multiply endlessly. He realizes he needs to unlock that move. Attribute, demonic force, unlock condition, consume 5,000 prestige points. Current prestige, 5,002. Liu thinks that if it weren't necessary, he wouldn't trade for this attribute. He spent so long saving up prestige and using it would affect his reputation. The system notifies, attribute unlocked, new skill acquired, intimidates enemies in a 1-kilometer radius, ignoring environmental factors lasting 30 minutes. Fan thinks that now things have come this far, he has to go all in. He activates demonic force intimidation. The world distorts for a moment, his vision becomes negative, colors inverted. Then the system notifies, demonic force intimidation used, accidentally injured allies. The lion says this damned skill ignores allies and enemies alike. The snake calls out. The protagonist asks if she's okay. She says she's fine and that sometimes when he has nightmares, he releases an aura that powerful. She and Ju are always by his side. They're probably the only ones on Lion Mountain who can withstand it. She tells him not to worry. They'll definitely find the Rat King. Liu tells her to wait. His demonic sense can't distinguish the target, and finding the Rat King is like finding a needle in a haystack. And now that the mountain rats have infiltrated all of Lion Mountain, he He absolutely can't flip the whole mountain upside down. His demonic force can only suppress them temporarily. Time is limited. The snake asks what they should do. Fan says, as the saying goes, "The snake does her part and I'll do mine." He tells them to go. He thinks his original task was to expand territory, not defend against a rat tide. And by completing the system's tasks, he'll be able to control countless energy units and reshape the land. By combining those two abilities, he can drive out the mountain rats from Lion Mountain as easily as flushing out waste. So the real key lies in White Tiger Ridge. Elsewhere, the tiger wonders if that guy has already figured it out and tells Ridge to prepare for battle. The animals start howling and roaring. As the lion and his allies approach, the tiger and his group charge too, until they stop, facing each other in a stare-down. The tiger thinks, so that's the Lion King's face. Truly extraordinary. A formidable opponent. The protagonist thinks that with the spiritual revival and ever-changing disasters, White Tiger actually prepared in advance for him. This isn't going to be simple. He lets out his roar and the tiger, without backing down, roars as well. The manas collide, causing a massive explosion. As the smoke clears, the Rat King is eliminated. The tiger wonders if he also has demonic force and says, "The weak don't even deserve to be cannon fodder." The two walk closer to each other, and the tiger says they've stayed out of each other's way for years and asks why start an undeclared war now. Lu says he's only here to complete his mission and asks what that has to do with him. Both release mana and attack. The tiger charges at him with sharp claws, but Fan is faster and lands the hit. The tiger asks how he was able to counter his attack and wonders how this lion can do that. He thinks that logically, the only thing a lion should be able to do when facing him is to obediently endure the blow. The protagonist stands tall and tells him to get ready. The tiger thinks that besides that, this is the second time his aura recovers so quickly, and he can no longer look down on him. The two dash at the same time, and the tiger lands a hit. The protagonist wonders if his opponent has the same power as he does. He hits him. The tiger thinks the lion shouldn't be able to keep up with his speed. The two stare each other down, and being so powerful, their clash causes an explosive power surge, intensifying the battle. Liu finds it interesting and thinks it's the first time he's faced such a strong enemy. He releases a massive amount of mana and closes in again. The tiger thinks the lion's defense is quite troublesome, so he uses his lightning ability, triggering another massive explosion. The two remain face to face with fierce glares. The snake watches from afar, thinking this isn't a battle she can join, and says she must help Her Majesty. She transforms, growing stronger, asking how he dares attack her king, and says she'll eliminate him. The serpent releases a large amount of power from her mouth. The energy is extremely powerful and unstable, causing a huge impact. As the smoke clears, someone blocks her attack. It's the great turtle. The snake looks shocked and very irritated. A bird approaches and asks if she forgot about them. It's the stork, saying that if she wants to fight, go ahead, but she doubts the snake will survive. The bird charges with great power. Fan gets worried about his partner. The tiger behind him, with intense blue eyes, asks if he really thinks he has time to worry about others, then attacks the lion. But the protagonist moves quickly, dodging, thinking no. At first he used 50% of his power and barely kept up. He wonders if he didn't win, then what's going on. From behind the smoke, the tiger says the lion is scared, and that if so, he'll never defeat him. This is his ability. He releases extremely powerful mana filled with lightning. Liu is shocked when he sees it. Fei Ling, as the name implies, means the domination and oppression of the weak by the strong. The weak weren't made to succumb, but as long as fear exists in the mind of the victim, no matter how strong, smart, or large they are, the oppressor will always remain in control. This pattern is passed down through generations. It's nature's law, and it manifests in the awakened ability of the king. Meanwhile, in the battle, the turtle says that as long as even a trace of fear remains toward the king, even before his strongest opponent, the king will never be defeated. On the other side, the lion thinks his strength is locked and doesn't understand what's happening. He wonders if it's the effect of his opponent's ability. He realizes he needs to create distance. The tiger notices him backing away and begins releasing mana and summoning wings. The protagonist is surprised and asks if his opponent can fly, then says he's consumed by envy, jealousy, and hatred. The tiger begins to fly. Liu, uncomfortable, looks at the system and thinks this is strange, wondering why his power is locked while it appears to be increasing. With a strange feeling, he asks again where his energy went. The snake calls for him and moves, saying she'll block his way. The turtle watches and says she's so fast and asks if she's mocking him because of his size. The turtle rushes toward her, releasing acid. The serpent thinks she can't use her full strength and that something's wrong with the water and says it's weak, telling the turtle to look at herself. The turtle watches and says she thought the snake was just a four-legged serpent, but she can really fly, and it seems her ability to become a monster surpasses her own. The stork says in that case, she'll take care of it. The serpent uses her spinning technique. The bird releases energy from its eyes and strikes her opponent's tail, saying she dodged, but her beak is harder than diamond. The aura grows more intense above, blocking their vision. The turtle looks up and asks why she can't see anything. It's a deceptive trick, then widens her eyes and realizes the snake is wrapped around her. She asks how she dares. The serpent begins biting her shell, and the turtle asks if she's immune to black water, saying it's useless. Her shield can absorb all types of attacks. Before she can finish speaking, she's slammed to the ground and sees the black snake wrapping tighter. She asks if that's not the blue dragon. The snake continues coiled around her body, and the turtle says there's hallucinogenic venom in the mist. She can feel it, and this is bad. The stork approaches flying, saying she'll help, cursing the enemy and wanting him finished. The turtle says to wait, until she's struck hard and her neck is ripped off. The stork asks if she was hallucinating and realizes she defeated her own ally. The snake says it seems his beak is really strong, but without doing that, she won't be able to break his defenses. The serpent releases energy from her mouth. The bird notices the black water and that she can no longer use her power. The snake uses her dragon breath ability, causing a massive impact, and shouts to Her Majesty that she's there to help, crying out for him until she returns to her normal form and falls to the ground. Meanwhile, on the other side, the protagonist has his shield activated and his opponent is trying to break it to attack. Liu remains calm inside the shield, thinking this is strange, because although his basic powers are blocked, his skills can still be activated normally. The tiger is very irritated, trying to break it and asking why it's so solid, saying he's fought many strong opponents, who always bowed to him whenever he used his powers on them, and even now, this one doesn't fear him. Fan wonders how the hell his energy was blocked and if his opponent also has a system. The tiger asks what system and who he thinks he is, saying he's joking, and tells him not to think he can break his shield. The beast roars, causing shockwaves, and the lion asks if that's what he plans to use. The tiger says he won't be able to escape or block his attack. The protagonist's eyes widen as a colossal white and blue lightning bolt tears through the sky, surrounded by thunder and electric energy. The lightning strikes and explodes with absurd force. The impact is so intense that the entire environment trembles. The excited tiger tells him to take that. He lands the hit, splitting the ground with the force, and the lion is inside the crater, surrounded by an intense mana circle with lightning. The tiger asks if he melted and turned into a gold ball from the heat. The beast watches the circle flying upward, confused, and sees it approaching. His confusion deepens. Liu's body starts to transform. Horns grow, his teeth become sharper and more powerful, and his appearance changes. Fan says it's incredible. Using the increased heat from the attack and the water vapor generated in battle, perfect conditions for a storm were created. His metallic nature also conducts electricity, which is actually a trick to help himself ascend. The tiger asks if he isn't injured and what the gold ball is. The lion replies that it's his demon core. The beast doesn't understand. The system congratulates him for opening the demon core and grants a new attribute with mastered skills: Thunder Flash, Golden Attribute Expansion, and Domain Attribute Expansion. The protagonist thinks he really can't understand the system and doesn't know when it opens or closes. He remembers earlier when he was observing the intense lightning and asked if his opponent could really summon heavenly thunder tribulation and what he should do. He decided to use earth displacement to create a barrier and channel the electricity into the ground. The system detected powerful electric energy and asked if he wanted to infuse it into the monster core. Liu wondered about the monster core and realized it's no wonder he felt heat in his abdomen, even when his basic stats were blocked. So, the system is channeling newly acquired stats into his Dantian, nurturing the monster core, and it seems he must endure this tribulation. And fortune favors the bold. That's when the explosion happened. In the present, Fan says he didn't expect his celestial lightning to fill his monster core with energy, manifesting directly, and he has to thank him. The tiger growls and says he will. The lion smirks, mocking the situation, until the beast flies at him and hits him in the face, knocking the protagonist to the ground. He asks what's going on and why his status is still blocked. Even after condensing the golden core, he can't break free of these shackles. He remembers the turtle saying that as long as someone feels a moment of fear toward the king, even if they're a stronger enemy, they will never defeat the king. He thinks the tiger's ability seems like some kind of law, and it's similar to the ability possessed by that woman in the cave. The tiger asks, even with a formed monster core, what difference does it make? The beast approaches and roars, releasing intense mana. The lion also releases a devastating burst. Amid fire and magical energy, the two attack at the same time, and their manas collide. The tiger can't understand how. The protagonist says his thunder power is now ineffective against him. Although the intimidating power remains, it doesn't affect non-biological entities like the monster core. Liu releases his power, binding his opponent's legs and neck. The tiger says this is problematic. Fan tells him to behave and keeps using his power to restrain him, leaving him with no way out. The tiger asks if he's really going to lose and why he can't overcome this, no matter what. Then he looks to the side and wonders if that's the Rat King. The rat is very full, sitting on the ground, and notices the tiger is restrained. The lion looks surprised and says they've lost a lot, and the rat tied in the earth veins has awakened. And there's no time. He must finish his opponent immediately. The tiger smiles and says, "So that's it," asking if there's some kind of connection between Lion Mountain and his true form, and says that as long as Lion Mountain is damaged, he will also be harmed. He orders the rat to bite into Lion Mountain. The protagonist approaches and asks if he is the Rat King. The rat notices him and asks if he's the Lion King. Liu widens his eyes and remembers when there was a rat running and the snake tried to stop it, saying it couldn't escape. Then he was lying down until he noticed something and asked what Qing was doing. She said there was a rat and it went in. The lion asked if she was serious and said he would check. Then he grabbed the rat and said it was bold to climb onto his body. The snake said now that he caught it, she'd eat it. Holding the rat in his hand, he stared at it. The rat said not to eat it. The protagonist got scared and dropped it, saying it was a talking rat and it had gained sentience, and asked how he could eat it now. The snake asked if that affects the taste. Liu explained that it meant the rat had mutated under the influence of spiritual energy, just like her and the others, like the beasts who gained sentience. The rat was happy to be alive and thanked him for sparing it, saying he would do his best to repay him. Fan told him to go play alone and asked what he could expect from something that small as repayment. In the present, still in the same place, the rat apologizes. The lion asks if he was affected by the white tiger's pressure. The rat says it's time to repay and to watch. He places his hands on his head and begins releasing mana around his hands, calling his children to return. The rats in the cave realize they're being summoned. Meanwhile, the tiger asks if he really wants to stop the attack on Lion Mountain. The Rat King starts releasing plasma from his nose and mouth. The tiger laughs and says he's already under the effect of Intimidation Demon, and with weakness and strength imbalanced, he can only listen obediently. He asks if he's trying to break free from the constraints of power and says he's asking to be destroyed. The protagonist says he doesn't need to do anything, and that the true king is the one who embraces all under heaven, the one embraced by the people, the one who dares to be untamed, not someone like him, who relies on threats and coercion, forcing the weak to submit and discard their worn shoes. Liu releases his energy. The tiger attacks too and asks if he still wants to challenge him using demonic intimidation. The attacks collide in a clash of equal rivals, each using their ultimate techniques. Both push with great effort, and the rat thinks he can't give up now or the tide won't be resolved, and he can't lose. He's a king too. Later, still in the same place, with the surroundings destroyed, the tiger lies fallen on the ground. Fan looks at his system notifications about attributes and the rewards from the fragment. He looks to the side and the rat is still trying. Meanwhile, on Lion Mountain, the parrot says to look quickly because all the rats are leaving. The bear asks what's happening. The Rat King smiles. It worked. The protagonist also smiles. They walk away, but someone says to stop, and it's the tiger who got up. Liu wonders why this guy hasn't been eliminated yet and thinks he no longer has the strength to deal with this. The tiger says he's lost and the winner becomes king, the loser becomes the follower, and from now on, she's his queen. They both look shocked, and Fan realizes she's actually a female tiger, and she says that just because he called her Tiger, he still hasn't learned her esteemed name. The lion wonders if a romance is happening and says he objects. The system notifies that it has detected the tiger wants to offer herself entirely and asks if he wants to include her in the territory. Meanwhile, at the entrance to the ruins of the Red Umbrella, Ling and Shuang are representing the strong organization and are inside the ancient ruins. They enter as a group into the cave equipped and armed. Someone puts a hand on a weapon and asks what era this is and why they still use that kind of weapon. It's Tao, also a member of the strong organization, saying the ruins are full of treasures and it wouldn't be good if the weapon failed, so they should put it away quickly. And that, in the era of spiritual energy revival, spiritual energy is the self, and when danger comes, it will protect them both. He's about to make contact. Sue, in her thoughts, calls him a pig and says if he dares touch her, she'll cut off his hand. But someone hits him first, asking what time it is, and he still feels like flirting with the girls. It's Wang, who says that when a construction team explored these ruins, the whole unit was wiped out, and even before the ruins were fully revealed, they were already extremely dangerous, and now asks why he's not focusing. Tao asks why, with such danger, the company still wants them to go there. The leader replies it's a new inheritance. Ling looks at him, surprised. They walk, and Chong asks if they've reached the end and if it's a dead end. One of the members says that shouldn't be the case. The radar detector clearly showed a huge space inside the ruins. Then the place starts to tremble. The item moves, and they all get out of the way. The leader stands in front of it, and the redhead steps in and tells him to be careful. Tao releases mana around his hand and tries to hold the item, using all his strength. Wang just watches while smoking, and the redhead holding it asks if he wants to compare strength with him, until he activates his ability and transforms into a larger, more powerful beast. The two girls look surprised, and Ling thinks he really is a pig. Tao uses his strength, lifts the item and flips it, identifying it as an insect. The redhead asks if it's turtles. Bats fly toward them and start biting. Shen shoots and tells them to be careful. She hits the bats. Tao, surprised, wonders if that was a chi bullet and if she just saved him and thinks she likes him. The leader tells him to get up quickly because they've arrived. The team looks surprised as they see the place. A woman gets excited and says, "Here come the clients, and they're open for business." The men stare in awe, drooling. Sue asks, "What is this?" The redhead runs toward the women. The leader says, "Wait, something's not right." Tao says this is the reward for leveling up right after their battle just now, and besides, as a man, he really can't miss out. He runs to one of the women and she says he's so strong. Wang asks how they ended up beside him and how they moved, saying he didn't look away. They were so far. The team members start enjoying the moment with the women, who seem to submit themselves. Chong watches closely. The one with Tao says he's really strong. He smiles and drools while staring at her, watching her lips and features. Energy starts to release from his nose. The redhead thinks this is bad and wonders if she's absorbing his yang energy. And she really is. And when he realizes it, he calls for the captain to save him. The other team members are also attacked and collapse on the ground. One of them manages to escape and curses at them, but they're stronger and defeat him. Wang tells everyone to stop. He uses his ability. A woman approaches him, trying to seduce him, saying he doesn't seem very relaxed. Chong immediately attacks her and says her seductive tricks won't work on him. The woman says he's very difficult and making a man soft is their specialty. The leader asks what she's going to do. The woman, with her tongue out, tries to seduce him. The leader tries to hold himself back and thinks that the blood is flowing to his lower dantian, and there's no way to maintain his metallization by absorbing iron from the blood. He starts to scream. Ling thinks Lion Mountain isn't far from there, and she needs to inform the king. She activates her ability. Someone grabs her arm. Sue tells them to let go and steps back, realizing they took her spiritual yin soul, and asks if she is also one. The woman says that since she's there, there's no need to leave. Meanwhile, on Lion Mountain, the protagonist stands still. The tigress tells him to hurry and asks what he's waiting for. After mating season, they'll have to wait another year, and to hurry and fuse together, and only when they unite can they give birth to the strongest king so the family can rule the world. She says he conquered the white tiger's vessel and he only wanted her vessel, but not herself. Liu asks what she's saying. How could this be? He just has no experience with this kind of thing. Faye says he's new at it and she'll teach him. Anne tells him to bite her neck from behind and mount her. Fan wonders if he'll really be the first in history to do that with a tiger. The candle says no. The tigress is startled and asks how the candle can speak. The lion asks what's wrong. Ju says Sue's heart flame is about to go out. The protagonist asks if Ling is in danger and tells the system to reveal her original location. Faye asks who that is and why he isn't saying anything. Liu looks and realizes it's toward the ancient ruin again, and it seems he has to go down the mountain again. The system notifies that the Yang body fragment was used. Fan changes the form of his body. The tigress looks surprised and thinks it's a human transformation technique. And while white tiger beasts strive to become divine beasts, he cultivates a method to become human. No wonder he's not interested in her as a feline partner. The lion tells her to wait there. He'll be right back. Faye thinks she needs to make him fall in love with her, and it seems she also needs saving. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Sue is being pulled and yelling for them to let her go. Shuang looks at her and tries to pull her back, but she's also dragged, and the team lies defeated on the ground. They are taken to another room full of women, and a voice welcomes them, saying they're as gentle as peeled eggs, asking how old she is. Someone nearby answers that the girl is still a novice. They begin to laugh, and Ling looks up and sees that it's Luo. The demon also recognizes her, and Sue says, so she's here. Ling becomes extremely furious and activates her character formula. Her dagger increases in size, and Luo activates her illusion transformation. Sue moves toward her and says she's still alive. The demon says she's really persistent and actually followed her here. The two exchange blows, and Ling tells her to stop the puppet and that today she will pay the blood debt she owes the lion. Luo says her tomb was invaded, and she should be the one seeking revenge. Shen thinks her eyes can't follow their speed and wonders if the senior is also awakened and thinks she's so strong. The women in the room say for them to stop fighting, that they're all sisters, and ask why it has to be like this. Then a voice shouts for them to stop. They stop and look to the side, and a woman approaches. It's Master B. Luo bows to her in respect, and so do all the other women. Sue observes and thinks her demonic energy is so strong it's suffocating, and this woman may have cultivated for thousands of years and could tear her apart in a fight. She says she pays respect to the master and that she humbly introduced her intent into her sacred place and asked to be forgiven and let go. Shuang confirms it's true and that they're just tourists. The master says they're both very eloquent and she'll let them go, and asks if she should let her go too. Ling asks if she's letting her go. B replies yes, and says her soul is trapped there, and the legacy she possesses could help her. The demon asks if it's really her and says her older sister is underestimating her. Sue says that just because she can't doesn't mean no one else can. Luo asks what she means by that. The master tells them to follow her and says she was originally from a wealthy family, but due to some relatives being involved in rebellion, she was sold by officials to the Qing Pavilion. It was on a night of flowing affection that she served clients for the first time. The whole pavilion was lit with lights and her face glowed with joy, but deep in her heart she only wanted to preserve her purity in this world and was prepared to take her own life. Knife in hand, she unexpectedly fell deeply in love with that man. He also came from a prominent family but was tricked by his classmates on the way to the imperial exam and brought there. They said it was to perform his deflowering rite to increase his luck. However, he never touched her. That night, they only exchanged poems, discussed the past and present, and played music together. He was indeed cultured, skilled in arts and sciences, and adept in the 6 arts of a gentleman. Without realizing it, she fell in love with him. He was willing to redeem her, marry her in a grand procession, and live happily ever after. Until then, they would have a joyful and eternal union. But he didn't have enough money, and the imperial exam was near, so he borrowed money from his classmates and begged the madam to remove her nameplate, promising to come back for her. After a few days, he gave her a gift, the universe brocade umbrella, a family heirloom, and left. But the madam didn't keep her promise, and she thought she had already lost her virginity. So what was the harm in continuing to serve clients? Maybe it was fate that led her to this tragedy and only the end awaited her. That umbrella, originally a family heirloom, had spiritual qualities. Influenced by her resentment and stained with her blood, it transformed into an evil spirit. And that is Qi. Ling says she understands and asks what happened afterward and how she became a yin soul. Luo replies that he returned later, and not only did he obtain the highest honors in both civil and martial exams, but he also took on the task of defending the southwest region and became a great general. After learning that his elder sister had sacrificed herself for love, he wiped out everyone in the Qing Pavilion, setting the place on fire. Then, under the guidance of a high monk, he infused the Qing Pavilion with bronze, forming a massive natural coffin, and used a wordless heavenly book as the formation's core, preserving her body. It could prevent the body from decaying and anchor the soul. After that, he tirelessly searched for a resurrection method. Unfortunately, he never found one before his death. Later, when spiritual energy revived, she gained the opportunity from it and was able to leave her physical body to become a yin soul, becoming known as an earthbound spirit. Sue asks about the sisters outside. The master replies that originally, he offered those sisters as sacrifices. Their souls are also trapped there. Now they're like limbs and cannot leave this place, so they were sent to absorb yang energy. Ling thinks she casually revealed some astonishing information and says that earthbound spirits often arise from lives full of resentment over unfulfilled desires, and asks if she wants her help to leave that place to fulfill those past wishes, and if she wishes to see him again. Bai responds no, that thousands of years have passed and she's no longer interested in men or such matters. All she needs is help removing the wordless heavenly book to break the formation, and she'll be free. And if she can help her regain her freedom, she'll give the wordless heavenly book to present to the king, and might even become his wife. Sue asks if she knows her king. They move forward, and the mistress of the place states that it is evident Luo has been corrupted by resentment, turning into a demon. The blood that sustains her is a reflection of what she herself has lived, as if it were another version of her. Sue retorts that if she recognizes this, then she also knows about the crimes committed on Lion Mountain, and questions whether she would still have the courage to ask for help. The demoness admits she cannot deny it, but reminds them that it was they who occupied her cultivation cave. From Luo's perspective, it was nothing more than legitimate defense. She says Lion Mountain stretches for hundreds of kilometers and asks if it is truly under the king's authority, claiming she has inhabited that place for thousands of years. Ling hesitates to respond, and the mistress adds that it is better to turn conflicts into friendship than multiply enemies, asking if they do not agree. Sue decides to give it a chance and moves with the group toward the coffin. As they approach, they see a woman lying inside, so beautiful that she seems still alive. Shen comments quietly on this, but the demoness gets irritated and asks if he is serious, making it clear that she will not be satisfied even with such praise. Meanwhile, Ling notices a book nearby and thinks she might only need to take it until she sees it vanish before her eyes. Confused, she asks if all this is an illusion. The demoness stares at her and says that power could only come from her inheritance. The book is able to lock the spirit and protect the body, existing naturally between yin and yang. She asks if the method Ling received is not exactly the one that uses yin to sustain yang's transformation. Ling admits she can only transform. Suddenly, strange sounds echo. Alarmed, Luo asks why she hadn't said earlier that she could not perform that, explaining that if anyone tries to destroy the formation's core, the relic will activate its defense mechanisms. Ling despairs, claiming she did not know other devices existed. Shuang asks what those mechanisms might be, but Luo admits she does not know. Shocked, the two respond that not even she understands. The demoness then explains that for millennia, no one dared approach her body, much less touch the core of the formation, since all intruders were drained by her sisters. At that moment, a door opens and several women appear with red, menacing eyes. Luo concludes that must be the mechanism. The veins on their faces bulge and they advance. Ling murmurs, and the group is forced to fight. Shen fires her weapon but realizes it has no effect. One of them appears behind her with mouth open to attack, until Luo intercepts and hurls her away. Luo asks why the mistress cannot simply control those women. The demoness replies she cannot. It is the formation's core that commands them, and now they cannot be controlled. The only option left is to recover the celestial book to break the matrix. As enemies close in, Luo complains to the ghost, saying she hinders more than helps, for if she had not destroyed the umbrella's supporting bone, she could have used it as a link to capture them all. The mistress orders them to leave it to her and focus again on the goal. Ling agrees, and the demoness asks to guard the control point. The ghost approaches the book, trying to turn the illusion into reality. The environment vibrates, energies stir, and Ling realizes she has found the matrix's core, located in the woman's abdomen. Luo is shocked, but the demoness insists it must be removed. Luo disagrees, fearing that forcibly pulling out the core would cost her life. The mistress, however, says she will not cling to the past, seeking only redemption in the present, and asks that they trust her. Ling understands, concentrates her power, becomes intangible, passes through the woman's body, and solidifies again to grasp the book, managing to pull it out amid glowing particles. Surprised, Ling observes, and the demoness assures her it is under control and they must leave quickly. Luo disagrees, stating it is not so simple. Although the core has been destroyed, the spirits are still there, now even more aggressive. The women charge with greater fury while Shen positions herself with her weapon, and Ling warns that the seal has been broken, demanding immediate escape. They run toward the exit, but the figures chase them. When they finally reach the entrance, the demoness realizes something. Crossing outside, the mistress grows emotional at feeling she can leave the ruins. The ghost throws Shuang forward and tells her to run. The demoness asks if she truly feels that urge, and Ling reminds her that behind them is Lion Mountain. If the evil spirits are released, the consequences will be unimaginable, and therefore they must face them right there. The demoness falls silent, aware that everything began because of her own actions, and asks how she could just stand by and watch. Luo decides that if her sister will not retreat, then neither will she. Shen comments that she's just an ordinary person and asks if she can be excused before they, celestial beings, start fighting for real. At that moment, a swarm of spirits approaches, but the imposing figure of the lion appears in front, releasing a crushing pressure. His power bursts into lightning that shakes the surroundings, opening craters and dispersing smoke. The protagonist appears, saying he arrived at the right time, and asks if Ling is all right. She becomes emotional upon seeing him. The demoness watches in fear and thinks that the lion is now 10 times stronger than when he fought Luo. Even with her 1,000 years of cultivation, she fears taking such an attack. Luo tries to strike him and warns that they are all in a soul state, and if they are destroyed there, it will be the end. Liu, however, holds her face and mocks her, asking why it is her again if she has not learned to value the life he once spared, and if she is seeking her own destruction. The demoness bows and greets him as the great king. Luo questions about the little slave, and Fan, confused, wants to know who she is. Then, a voice rises in the night, stating that she is the chosen master of the Red Umbrella. The demoness confirms, explaining that every ancient relic has its master and holds a secret inheritance. She cites examples such as the coffin of the Forest of Horror, the celestial wordless book linked to the Red Umbrella relic, and the cave itself, which is a source of the Earth's fiery veins. She asks the lion what inheritance he has received. He grows thoughtful, wondering if the system he possesses counts as an inheritance and whether Xiao Yan had received something. He concludes uncertain that perhaps not. The demoness notices his hesitation and decides not to press further, summarizing that with the recovery of spiritual energy, ancient relic forces have awakened, and with the world in chaos, conflicts are inevitable. Ling adds that during her time with the Qiang group, she learned that human organizations are also supported by ancient forces. These forces choose outstanding individuals and grant them inheritances, making them martial masters ranked by levels able to elevate physical strength when awakening abilities. She also explains that she had to hide her identity in the group, which prevented her from contacting Wu. The protagonist places his hand on her head and reassures her, saying she has already done much, but that the Qiang group, after losing so many there, will not let it go easily. He adds that even his Lion Mountain has been tainted. The demoness interjects, asking if the king blames her. She explains that the Chinky Pavilion and Lion Mountain are connected by the Earth's spiritual veins, and that their destinies have always been intertwined. She reminds him that riches inevitably attract trouble and innocence end up involved. Luo provocatively asks why fear mere humans, since they could simply exterminate them. Liu counters, asking if they really believe they could withstand modern weapons. Bullets, planes, tanks, even nuclear bombs. Luo is surprised at the term, and the demoness seizes the moment to say there is a way to conceal the Earth's spiritual veins. Fan is startled, and she explains that she masters the art of enchantments. If the king trusts her, she can raise an invisibility spell, hiding the flow of spiritual energy. The lion remains silent. Faced with this, the demoness concludes he does not trust her, and asks at least to deliver the book. Luo demands to know what she is doing, but before she can stop her, the demoness uses her magic to reclaim the book. Kneeling, she declares herself willing to become the great king's spiritual servant and begs him to accept her. The system then notifies, invitation for spiritual bond detected, millennial ghost, magical gift detected, celestial wordless book, inherited gift identified. It asks the protagonist if he wishes to accept. He holds the book in the umbrella, reflecting that he never asked for any of this, yet receives so much. Luo protests, saying she is selling herself. Shen thinks to herself that the red umbrella was a gift from an ex-boyfriend. The book was handed over by Xiao in exchange for help escaping the ruins, and in the end, everything ended up in the Lion King's hands. She considers that older sister incredibly cunning. Liu sighs, recognizing that it is indeed the celestial wordless book, but without any writing, impossible to read. Fan flips through it curiously, and the system notifies that he has read the book. The lion realizes that somehow the system sees everything. He's puzzled to notice that his comprehension improves, and he begins to glimpse words that were previously invisible. Surprised, he continues with the group until later in the mountains they walk together, while the tigress watches them from the top of a cliff on Lion Mountain. Liu calls out to the tigress, suspicious that she may have already left. He smells something strange, notices liquid spread on the ground and claw marks carved into the rocks, then shouts for her. Luo looks around and asks if that cave belongs to him, but Fan suggests they talk better outside. Later, at the same spot, the lion declares that here lies the secret, the method to conceal the formation of Lion Mountain. The bear grumbles that those women are not trustworthy, but the protagonist insists that, with so many forces coveting the mountain, they need allies. He says they have found a way to hide the entire Lion Mountain. The demoness clarifies that, to be precise, she herself knows this method, inherited from ancient ruins, and that they must find them. Liu is surprised, and Luo recalls that he was the one who sealed her sister back then. The demoness then asks where those ruins are. Ling replies that they are not too far, only about 320 kilometers away, though infested with beasts. Sometime later, already 800 kilometers ahead, they reach the Shu River. Faced with the vastness of the water stretching into the horizon, Fan asks how they will cross, lamenting not having brought wings to fly over the region. The demoness is puzzled, as there had been no river there before. Luo explains that after 1,000 years, spiritual energy completely reshaped the land and feng shui. Ling notes that since it is daytime, she cannot use her spiritual form to fly and says she will try crossing by swimming, assuring them she is a good swimmer. Without hesitation, she dives in. The bear suspiciously comments whether a girl can cross such an immense river and offers to go too, saying he can swim, but the lion jokes that no one wants to see him in a swimsuit. In the middle of the crossing, the ghost senses strange movements. The waters churn, forcing her to leap. An enormous crocodile emerges with its jaws wide open. In an instant, she is swallowed. The protagonist panics and shouts for her. Liu tears off his clothes and dives in without thinking. Underwater, he feels his body sinking deeper and wonders how, since he always knew how to swim, suspecting that maybe he is too heavy, as if made of gold. Fan sees silhouettes, crocodiles swimming around. One approaches and opens its mouth, but the Lion King grabs its tail and drags it, releasing a roar that echoes underwater. The crocodile bellows, and the others retreat, not daring to attack him directly. Fan realizes their true target is not the lion but the group on the shore. Concerned, he notices that with his weight he cannot float, but he has an idea. On the riverbank, the others watch tensely when a violent wave rises, pulling the snake and the bear into the water. The demoness observes and, surprised, asks if they are crocodiles. On the surface, they struggle to breathe, while at the bottom the Lion King mounts one, punching its head to make it swim faster. Still, he keeps sinking. Above, another crocodile opens its jaws, and the bear, using all his strength, holds them shut. Luo warns that their bite can crush dozens of tons, but the bear grumbles when he hears her call him Blackie. Soon, with a snap, Luo approaches and remarks that once a crocodile's mouth is shut, it's almost impossible for it to open again. The bear smiles confidently and suggests tying it up, asking for a rope. The snake watches with cold eyes before coiling around another crocodile's mouth. Meanwhile, underwater, the protagonist steps on something hard, a pile of bones. Alarmed, he realizes they are not just from common animals but from high-level beasts, confirming that these crocodiles are the true lords of the river. One of their tails whips, flinging the bear far away. The snake rushes toward him and, in desperation, coils around another crocodile's mouth only to be brutally bitten in the neck. The demoness wants to intervene, but Luo stops her, reminding her that under direct sunlight she would turn to ashes. Fan watches everything from beneath the water and thinks of the endless corpses at the bottom, recognizing the creature's absolute dominion. Even so, he believes there might be a blessing in disguise. He decides to try something. The Lion King unleashes the power of the celestial wordless book, and a wave of magic lifts the bones from the riverbed. The carcasses gather and form a troop of skeletons, who bow to him as their king. He pats one on the head, satisfied, but reflects. Even mastering the art of spiritual puppets, it will not be enough to get them out alive. The skeleton bows, and other bones begin to rise around, bound by Liu's magic. He thinks that this could also be used differently, and molds the bones into the shape of a staircase. Fan climbs upon it with his magic, and the Lion King ascends step by step until he breaks the surface. Everyone watches in awe as the demoness recognizes the spiritual puppet technique and concludes that he has truly assimilated the inheritance of the celestial wordless book. On the shore, the crocodiles emerge. The protagonist leaps onto solid ground, bringing the skeletons with him. They advance against the beast, but a tail strike shatters one of the puppets. The demoness warns that the creature's skin is far too tough, and that mere puppets will not be able to wound them. A crocodile tries to bite the king, but Lu strikes it directly on the jaw and declares that its strength is nothing compared to his, splitting its mouth in half. When the king glances around, he notices Ling is there as well. He then grabs the tail of another beast, remarking that with such endurance, he could turn it into a boat. Using his power, he drags the creatures to serve as transport, and the group climbs onto the crocodiles as if they were vessels. The bear marvels, saying that for him nothing seems like an effort. The demoness, silent, reflects that she spent millennia cultivating the technique of spiritual puppets, yet he mastered it in just a few days. Suddenly, the ghost comments that everything is becoming hazy. Fan agrees, saying he cannot see anything and wonders how they will reach the mountain. The demoness explains that in fact, they have already arrived. This is Mount Kong, an ancient graveyard tied to the Earth's formation, and they are now inside its first barrier, the formation of illusory mist. The Lion King remarks that the fog is too thick and suggests they head to the shore first. The bear volunteers to explore. He leaps, but as soon as he sets foot on the sand, he begins to sink. The wind howls, strange sounds echo, and he screams in fright as the ground transforms into a river. The demoness warns that it is all an illusion, but finding the ruins will not be easy. The bear cries for help, and Lu runs to him, but as he extends his arm, he sees his skin corroding. Ling, watchful, urges him not to panic, reminding him that this, too, is part of the illusion. Fan realizes his arm returns to normal, and the ghost recognizes the black mist that once protected the spirit flower's coffin. She explains that, even if illusory, it can kill if someone succumbs within it, and the only way out is to focus internal spiritual energy to break the illusion. They all concentrate, but then one of the crocodiles widens its eyes and hurls the group away, throwing them into the water. The king shouts for his companions, the snake calls out to him, Luo cries for her sister, and suddenly the protagonist awakens. He is seated on the floor of a forest with the demoness beside him, still with eyes closed. Liu stares at her, and she opens her eyes, asking what happened. Fan brushes it off, saying it is nothing, and asks where they are and where the others ended up. The demoness admits she does not know. Perhaps they are still within Mount Kong, or trapped in another illusion. He insists they must find them, but she warns that fear does not help. She states that his confidence is his essence, and if it disappears before the light, his soul will be lost. The The protagonist replies that it is no problem, releasing light into his hand and shaping it into an umbrella, intensifying its glow. The demoness watches, enchanted, saying it is beautiful and heavy. Meanwhile, elsewhere under a crimson sky, Ling calls for her master and thinks how terrifying it is to be separated from the king, alone and unsupported. Luo, searching for her sister, reflects that being away from her makes her uneasy, and that, ironically, even the stinky lion would be welcome now. The two eventually meet and upon seeing each other, realize they have run into the very person they least wanted to encounter. In another place, the bear and the snake walk together on the water's surface. The snake comments in surprise that they really can walk like that, and the bear responds that he cannot say if it is beautiful or strange. Looking around, he questions whether Mount Kong should not be a mountain, since there is no sign of it. Meanwhile, the protagonist walks beside the demoness. She picks up a flower petal and remarks that flowers carry many meanings, asking why he does not share the umbrella with her. Lu thinks to himself that he feels embarrassed. After all, he was hasty in accepting her so quickly. She, however, watches him and smiles, finding him knightly even just holding the umbrella. Fan, suspicious, interrupts his thoughts and says something is wrong. They have been walking for a long time, yet the peach forest seems endless. The demoness points to a marked tree and explains that it is not that the forest has no end, they simply return to the starting point. She was the one who left that mark, precisely to identify their location. The Lion King concludes that the entire peach forest is an illusion. The demoness confirms they are trapped. The protagonist asks if it is a phantom labyrinth and notices that the trees seem to move. Liu grabs her arm and starts to run, explaining that it is a rare kind of labyrinth, extremely mysterious, which distorts perception. He details that all biological movement is circular. Steps left or right create subtle differences, and without visual correction, the path inevitably closes into a circle. He adds that although the real distance seems short, the subtle and complex loop distorts the sense of direction, and the only way to break through is by forcing forward with speed. The demoness, however, calls to him and says it is not that simple. Both change appearance, and when Fan takes on human form, she pulls away confused and asks who he really is. The Lion King simply replies that he is still himself. Elsewhere, under the red sky, Ling calls for her king and Luo for her sister. Both voices answer in unison, no. Suspicious, they exchange questions about the directions they came from, but neither found anything. Luo refuses to talk further and tries to leave. Ling pulls her back, insisting there is nothing, but Luo does not believe her and reminds her that they were enemies not long ago. Suddenly, Luo mentions that the elder sister has already surrendered and asks how she could ever reconcile with her. She suggests eliminating the stinky lion and the girl, then dividing Lion Mountain between the two of them. Ling is startled and realizes something is off. Could this valley also be a loop? She draws a blade and stabs Luo, only to discover it was a copy. Luo smirks and counterattacks, but Ling reveals that she noticed the shift in shadows when the other passed by her side. Luo admits that Ling is very sharp to catch such a subtle detail. They go their separate ways, and Ling reflects, who would pay such close attention to the shadows of someone they dislike? Meanwhile, the Lion King and the demoness continue side by side. Fan, confused, asks what is happening. She answers that formations crafted by skilled magi not only distort space, but also time within their domains, and that the forest is more than a simple spatial illusion. He asks what she means, and the demoness claims that 1,000 years ago she was already his partner. Fan lowers his head, not denying it. At that moment, the trees sprout threatening eyes and attack. The king shouts. The demoness pulls him into her lap, and as he stands, he notices that not only his appearance, but even his cultivation seems to have regressed. She looks shaken, but insists that she is now the great king's spiritual servant, that this is her fate. Fan is taken aback and a branch tries to strike him from behind. He reacts in time, breaks it, and the system notifies that his strength has increased. Liu gives thanks inwardly, relieved that his system remains active even within temporal distortion. Elsewhere, the bear and the snake continue walking on the water. The bear, irritated, asks how much longer they have to go on, complaining that he is already furious. The snake comments that maybe there is no end to this place, that it doesn't even seem like the real world, suggesting they fell into an illusion. The bear asks what they should do, even questioning if he himself isn't just an illusion. The snake grows annoyed and scolds him, saying no one but the king has permission to touch her scales. She then explains that even the parrot can use illusion techniques. She reminds him they've already discussed this. Illusions deceive and confuse, even inflicting real pain. If the victim's vision is compromised, all 5 senses can be manipulated. But once the target disrupts the flow of their own internal energy, the illusion can be undone, and that is the greatest risk for its creator. The bear insists they try again, but even with effort, nothing happens. He grumbles that the method doesn't work either. They stare at the water in silence until the snake tells him to look down. Confused, the bear asks if she really means beneath them. Irritated, she snaps back, asking if he's never wondered why they can stand on water at all, and reveals there's something hidden below. She adds that being stuck beside such a clumsy bear has only weakened her chi. The bear retorts that he'll prove himself. They both dive and the water begins to churn violently. Somewhere else in the forest, animals graze peacefully as someone watches water drip from a statue. In the river, the young man remarks how beautiful everything is. But turning, he comes face to face with a green-haired woman. He sighs, suspicious that this too is just another illusion. Transformed into human form, the snake examines her own body and is shocked at the change, asking in disbelief if she really became human. The bear, shivering, complains that without his fur he feels cold. He climbs out of the water and urges them along, saying they should not soak there but check the shore. The snake, blushing, hits him and calls him a pervert, demanding to know what he's trying to do. The bear stumbles, falls to the ground, and dazed, realizes that neither of them is wearing clothes. The snake grows embarrassed. Improvising, the bear covers himself with leaves while the snake keeps a few scales to hide her body. She mutters that transforming into human form takes too much effort. The bear, excited, comments that it's not a bad idea and that she should try it more often. He focuses power, but instead of transforming, even larger tufts of fur sprout. Disgusted, the snake angrily orders him to stop, calling it horrible. Then both notice a statue ahead. The snake asks if it might just be another illusion and says they'll only know by testing it. The bear, intrigued, asks how exactly they are supposed to do that. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content. Thank you.